Good evening, fellow ASCA members. We are getting ready to start our open session of the January board meeting. If you have never heard our meetings before, the way we do this is that every time that there is an item for discussion, I will go around and give each director the opportunity to give their opinion. Tonight, Cindy, Jean, Judy, Ken, Linda, Rachel, and Rick are present, and myself, Liz, are present. Denise could not be here tonight. So our first item on the session is to ratify the December email business.
I'll move. This is Ken. I move to ratify the December email business.
Second, Linda.
Okay, so Ken has made the motion to ratify the December email business, and it has been seconded by Linda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Our second item tonight is the system liaisons report. Go ahead, Rachel.
Again, I'll apologize to everybody for my voice or lack thereof, but anyway, the board approved Inventive as our website maintenance vendor, and we did receive a master services agreement from Inventive a couple of days ago. It has been reviewed by our attorney as well as the SOW from Inventive, and has been approved by Chuck. And I will tell you that I personally read all 8 pages of it, and it's common agreement, nothing special, and I'm good with it. And so as soon as we can get this signed, we'll move forward with Inventive to go ahead and get our website maintenance up and running again. We've been without website support for a few months now, so it will really be good to have a vendor helping us in that respect again. Do we have any questions from anyone?
Before we get any questions, let me inform you guys that I did get the contract, and I read every word of it, and I did sign it. It has been signed, is done. Okay, any questions for Rachel?
All right, well, since no one has any questions for me, let me tell Jean, since she is our treasurer, one of the stipulations in the SOW with Inventive was a mobilization fees charge of $5,625, which will be due when they start the project. So just be aware of that. And what that entails is the fact that they have to get up and running on the website maintenance. They have to get an understanding of where the website currently is. And so that's an upfront fee. Now, in the case that the project ends earlier than scheduled or doesn't cost as much as estimated, the mobilization fee will be credited back to ASCA. But we expect to retain them as our maintenance and support vendor for the website. So anyway, does anyone have any questions about the mobilization fee? Because that will be upcoming as soon as the MSA gets approved.
No questions?
All right, that's all I have then. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Rachel. And please thank the committee for working on this, because I know they reviewed everything very thoroughly.
Yes,
okay.
Please, I second that. If anyone has an opportunity to thank Joyce, Sharon, and Allie, and Rick and Liz for working on this, and Ray, they have been instrumental in us being able to move forward on this. All right, I'm off. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. All right, so our last item for the night is the item of the DNA lab, and go ahead, Rick.
Okay. I guess a little background is the DNA committee has been asking for questions from Therion for, I don't know, probably a couple of months now. And I don't know where the disconnect is, but Will is not responding. He's not responding to Ray. He's not responding to any of our questions. Peter Hellmeister has kind of drafted up a whole list of questions he would like answered, and I forwarded them to everybody, and or Calla did. So I think you see the questions that were answered, and they were not really derogatory about Therion or to Therion. It was just, we want to know how they function and how we're going to move going forward. And we still can't get that those answers from Will. I know that Liz has been very involved as well, trying to get those answers. The DNA committee is fairly upset about this. They feel like that it's terrible customer service, and ASCA is not getting the service that we signed up for. I think Liz would probably respond the same way, and she might have a couple of different opinions. Liz, would you like to kind of give your view on it?
Yes, sir. So just so that the membership knows, I originally sent a letter to Therion back in October, if I remember correctly, just telling them, asking, if they had anything that they were going to change or our next contract and all that, to please let us know. And I simply invited them to a dialogue with ASCA. After that, then the issues of the DNA committee having certain questions about the database and about the storage of samples have come up. And so I drafted some questions and I sent them off. And we have not received any response to any of these questions. The problem that I see here is that I don't understand why we can't get any answers regarding our database and our samples. I mean, the answers should be like easy to answer. We're not asking anything complicated. We just want to know what's going on. And I think that ASCA has the right to know. And I think that the membership has the right to know, how is this database being kept? How is it being stored? How is it being, how often it's being updated? And how are our samples being stored and all that? And that's it. So I'm to the point right now that I'm not sure what else we can do besides maybe requesting that Chuck sends a letter with the questions, and maybe just the fact that Chuck is the one asking them, maybe we'll get something. I don't know. So that's my part in it. Thanks. Well, I guess I'll just, do you have something else, Rick, before I go over?
No, I was just going to add what you just did, that kind of, I think yours and my recommendation is to get Chuck involved and have Chuck, I don't know if you want to call it a demand letter or what. It's kind of like the letter that he sent Jeff Hanlon. We need some answers and we need to know. And I think the best place to start would be with let Chuck handle it.
Okay, so I'm just going to go around and let all directors have a say. So, Cindy?
I'm thinking Chuck should get involved. Maybe right now we have Ray is contacting the office. Liz is the president. Maybe between Chuck, Ray, and Liz, they can share all the communication that they send out and that they receive. So there's no nothing missing or nothing overlapping, and Chuck guides us on how to pursue looking for some of this information. That's it.
Okay, Jean?
I agree with Cindy.
Okay, Judy?
I don't know what's been in the content of your letters to Therian, but could perhaps you send a letter first outlining that if they don't respond, we will have to get our attorney involved. Maybe that would prompt them.
I could do that if the board wants me to do that. All my communications and all the questions that I have already sent, they're on record on the list, because I posted it so that, because I don't want to be doing anything without you guys knowing, and so the letters are there. But yeah, I see what you mean. If the board wants me to do that, I can certainly do that. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure that's, it could help. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right.
That it,
but
Judy?
rather than go straight to Chuck, inform them that that's what we plan to do if they don't respond.
Okay. All right, Ken?
I got a couple of things. I think Chuck, of course, Therion is in breach of contract. We have registry rules, and they're not supporting our registry rules at this point in time, and they've been totally out of contact with ASCA for what? Almost a whole quarter now, at least. So yeah, Chuck needs to get on this right away, as far as I can see. The issue of multiple fire litters, with Therion can no longer apparently test multiple fire litters. Are we going to suspend that registry rule for now until we sort out what we're going to do, or how are we going to deal with that issue? Sherry Baker and Kathy Walker have their results from paw prints already on the multi-fire list. And then
Ken, please remember that we're on open session. Just remember that.
Okay, I don't think I crossed the line, I hope. Did I?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm just saying.
Okay, all right. So anyway, that is being done, but the question that everybody, and I'm sure the membership wants to know, we now have official ASCA results from paw prints. How are those going to be integrated into the database? That was what all that preamble was. So, and the final question is, without any question, the data that we have for our DNA profiles, we must share that. We must find a way to share that with the DNA committee. They have got to research the existence of so many zeros in those test lines, and there are other questions that have to be answered. They have got to see that data. Nobody wants anybody's personal information, so nobody even knows what the heck the database looks like. So we had better, when we get to the spring meeting, there had better be a class opportunity on that DNA database where the entire board can become familiar with what our DNA database looks like. This thing of not knowing is just, there's no reason for it. It can't be defended. So at the spring meeting, we need to be oriented on that. But right now, we've got to get that data to the DNA committee so they can research a lot of these issues that are coming up. ASCA is going to find itself well, we're going to be lost in the wind here if we don't fully understand where we're at and where we're going. And I'm afraid that's where we're at right now. So even in the beginning, if we could just get a couple of screenshots, and if there's any kind of identifying information, just redact that. But let's see what the reports look like. You know, we've got to figure that out. So if it takes a committee of a couple of directors to figure out how that process is going to be, then so be it. But let's get that done, please.
Yes, just on Monday, I requested those screenshots, and I still have not received them. So just letting you know. And then about the spring meeting, I think Rick and I had already kind of thought that maybe that would be a good idea for us to have, you know, some kind of look at the database and see what's going on during the spring meeting. So we can definitely talk about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Linda.
Well, I think you really need to talk to Will to bring him to the spring meeting if that's where you need him. I've seen the database because I was at the office when the first transition went through. Things get lost when the board changes all the time. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, Rachel, are you still here or did she go?
Oh, no, I'm still here.
Okay. Just wanted to
oh, no, I'm not leaving on this one. I may be very sick, but this is of extreme importance to me. We have a vendor, Therion, who is in breach of contract, has not been able to fulfill the services as required and as they have agreed to. In my opinion, this is putting ASCA's entire registry at risk. We're at risk right now because the vendor is non-communicative, cannot or will not produce the database that, again, per the contract they are required to do, is non-responsive to our business office, is non-responsive to our president. What more do you guys want? It is time for our attorney to write these folks a letter explaining in graphic detail what we expect. And I, for one, am not going to stand down and say, well, it'll be okay till the spring meeting. We're talking about 4 months from now, guys. What are we going to do in the 4 months from now? Are we going to go on the 1-800 dial prayer and hope that everybody's DNA comes out okay? Well, what are we going to do if it doesn't? We have required our members to buy a product, Therion, which once again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is a faulty product. It is time for them to be replaced. And so I'm ready to take whatever steps that we need to after our attorney contacts Therion to determine how we're going to get out of this debacle.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So, Rick, do you want to go ahead with a motion and maybe we can discuss more if we need to? How do you want to handle it?
Yeah, I would, per the recommendation of the DNA committee, I move to get Chuck involved in writing a letter to Therion asking Therion to answer our questions that we have attempted to receive answers for a couple of months now.
Rick, this is Rachel. Are we just going to ask kindly? Is that what we're going to do? Like we've been asking kindly for about 3 months now?
Well, I think, Rachel, I mean, this is just my opinion. This is Liz, by the way. I think that we should work on the letter, help Chuck, understand what are the questions that we have. And I think that since we have been asking now for, a couple of months now, I mean, actually over a couple of months, that the letter should not be very, I mean, I have tried diplomacy and it hasn't worked. So I think it's time to be a little forceful, but I think that we can work on the letter with chalk. And, I think that we need a second for Rick's motion.
I will second his motion, but I would like a little more forcefulness, exactly what you said. Thank you, Liz.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Rick, seconded by Rachel, that we get Chuck involved in helping us write a letter, and that he will send this letter to Therion to answer our questions. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. So let's get to work on that promptly. I think we really need to get moving on that. So thank you, Rick, so much for your report and for bringing the motion on. Maybe we can get something done. All right, fellow members, this is the end of our open session. I hope you have a good night.